Hi, I'm excited to talk to you about emerging trends and a formula for creating an effective digital workplace. I'm Troy Campano. I'm the co-founder and chief of product officer at Workgrid, and I have over 20 years experience working with digital workplace platforms, the intranet, HR and IT systems, and other corporate systems. And our background at Workgrid is a little unique. We were actually the digital workplace team at Liberty Mutual Insurance. So we were the team supporting the intranet, in different systems that employees were using, HR systems, IT systems. And in 2013, we sought out to transform our employee experience. And at that time, we understood that there was this trend of the digital workplace, which we understood to be the culmination of all the different systems and technologies that employees were using in their workplace and how they kind of come together for this holistic experience. And so we call that the digital workplace, all the different tools and technologies that employees were using. And as we started to interview employees and what they were struggling with, we'd start to hear some common themes. We'd hear that they were missing communications. Managers were delaying work on approvals or missing approvals because all of these things were going into their email and getting lost amongst the other various things that go to your email each day. This feeling of cognitive overload, that there were just too many things, too many login screens, too many steps to complete simple transactions, and having to navigate across those different systems. This feeling of context switching and wasting time. This poor perception of IT and corporate groups who kind of operated in their own silos, and there was no way to bring an experience together. And so this really just culminated in this complex employee experience. And we realized that over the years, as almost every enterprise has done, as they've added different tools, products, new cloud applications into their portfolio, we're realizing that even though these are all best of breed systems and they're great at what they do, just the sheer number of them were creating this splintered experience for employees and creating some of this complexity. And so, even just looking at some of these statistics here, right, that workers waste 32 days a year due to inefficient workplace applications, and that 53% of employees would rather go home and do household chores than actually have to navigate through all the complexity of all these different systems. So, obviously something is wrong, and it was not just something that impacted us, but we now know is something that impacts really all enterprises and all large organizations. And so we solved it by introducing this intelligence layer right into the intranet. And we chose the intranet because every employee had access to the intranet. And so back 2013, this is sort of the early version of it. It would aggregate approvals for managers. It would bring things together. It would connect to all those different systems. For employees, it would bring in payslip and vacation time. And so we call that concept an experience layer or an intelligent experience layer. And so as a way to connect all that information. And the idea here is that, what is critical for the employee to know right now? What are the transactions that they might need to be aware of, or the manager? Is the manager or the employee in danger of missing an important deadline? And what are those alerts, those forms, those approvals, those tasks, those reminders? Can we bring all of those together in a cohesive experience, which we now call an experience layer? And so it's very much this concept of, can we push things to employees? So instead of the employees having to go out to all these places, leveraging what we know about them, their context, their preferences, their HR profile, can we actually bring things to them together in the right context at the right time? And it's very much also this, shifting from 100 places to go to putting technology to work for you, right? So it's technology reaching out to you with what's actually important. And so fast forward to 2015, we started to share this concept more broadly with other organizations, and we kept getting asked, is this something we could do in our enterprise? And we weren't really structured to kind of share some of this technology at the time. And then fast forward again in 2018, we started to share the concept more broadly and started to win a number of different awards. And that kind of brings us to where we are today, where we've actually spun out a separate company from Liberty Mutual called Workgrid. And today we're a top digital workplace and HR technology solution provider. And so the whole premise here is that you can have your cake and eat it too, right? You can keep those systems. You don't want to replace those systems. A lot of them are amazing at what they do, and for the folks that own those systems, they really like those systems. But how do you still have a great experience that connects those things for your employees? And so that's where we are today. So we're Workgrid providing these solutions to a number of different organizations. But what I really want to talk to you about today is a formula. And so this is a formula I've seen across the board that every time I've seen an award-winning digital workplace that an organization puts together, they're implementing this formula. And so this formula is productivity plus communications wrapped in a great experience is a recipe or a formula for creating an award-winning digital workplace. And so I'd like to give you some tips here and share some trends that we're seeing across communications, experience and productivity, and things that you can take back to your organization to build a great and efficient and effective digital workplace. And so trend number one is to bring intelligent and personalized notifications to your intranet. And so these are maybe a mixture of things that could come from internal comms, but they're also transactions, right? For your employees that are maybe using Salesforce, are you able to extract some reminders, some tasks and other information and bring that to the employee maybe each day, right? Or one of my favorite examples is an organization we work with that based on your grade level, their job postings internally for internal mobility, they're able to sort of recommend positions for you on positions internally that might be a good fit for you. So almost like a recommendation engine, right? And so how do you bring those things to the employee? And if you're able to couple together both those transactions with internal comms, that is sort of the perfect state, right? It's the mixture of those two things. The employee might go there for the transaction, but then see the internal comms. And so it's the mixture of both that is really powerful. And trend number two is to drive engagement on mobile. And so there's really some great use cases on mobile. A lot of the organizations I work with, I see that sometimes mobile is an afterthought. And so it's very much about identifying those moments that matter on mobile. So what are those moments that matter? And from my experience working with a number of organizations, I know for employees, often some of those moments are like viewing their pay slip on a mobile phone, viewing their vacation balance. For managers, it might be things like aggregating approvals together from all those systems. And so mobile really is a key channel for a lot of different organizations. It might be you can use this as a communication channel, right, to be able to push out information. Maybe it's return to work, and you have communications related to return to work on what employees need to do. Mobile is often a perfect channel. And today, mobile industrial workers now make up 80% of the global workforce. So for many employees, mobile is the only channel. And so we're seeing this more and more. We're starting to work with a lot of different customers where mobile is their only way to communicate to employees. The only other way has been to send a letter home. That's how they're communicating and reaching out to employees. And so being able to couple those communications digitally on mobile, along with offering things like the ability to look up a pay slip or look at their vacation time, is super powerful, right? So for a lot of folks, they don't have a desktop computer or laptop to log into. Mobile becomes their only channel. And for when we're able to travel again, sort of post-pandemic, mobile is always super powerful, right? You have lots of employees where their day is spent traveling, going from place to place, and so mobile is definitely a killer channel to be able to leverage. Next up on experience, we've been saying since about 2018 that we believe that the digital workplace, where things are really evolving to, is focused on employee experience, right? Simplifying experiences and making employees productive. And I won't go into a ton of detail, but there's just numerous studies that talk about employee experience and how it leads to greater customer experience, increased revenue, a better ability to attract and retain talent. So there's a ton of information out there. And so trend number three is to put the employee at the center of the experience. And you can use something like outcome-driven design. And so we use outcome-driven design. The way to kind of think about this is, let's say you have an employee whose outcome is they want to go on vacation. And so to do that today, they might have to schedule the time off in an HR system. They might have to communicate with their team in Slack or Microsoft Teams that they're taking some days off. They might block their calendar and schedule, an out of office the message and maybe a number of other systems that they've got to kind of go to take time off. When you use outcome-driven design, it's basically a way to rethink that process or that journey for the employee. And so can you get it down to being a one-step process? So this is actually an example we worked with an organization on where you can go to one place, you can fill out, hey, I want to go on vacation on these particular dates. And at the bottom, you can see, hey, I want to block off some dates in my Outlook calendar, set my out of office message. and then you use technology sort of behind the scenes to orchestrate that happening. So that goes from a 3, 4, 5-step process down into a one-step process for the employee. And so for those things that employees are doing over and over, that's where you get a lot of value. Trend number 4 is to think broadly and don't silo yourself. So focus on what the employee's experience is. And so, when you think of these different organizations here like HR and IT and procurement, often they're in their own lanes, right? And they have their own budget, they have their own objectives, their own projects. They're working on their own things, like HR is working on onboarding and IT is trying to launch a mobile support app and finance is trying to roll out the new and latest, greatest expense tool. And so what this does is this creates this environment where things continue to be splintered, right? And so if you think about it from the employee's perspective, if you have an experience layer, if you can implement an experience layer and then work with each of those groups so that it's part of their plan, they're integrating into that experience layer. You've got that again, that the having your cake and eating it too, right? You can have the people that own those systems at the bottom are happy, and the employees have a great experience up on that top layer. Trend number 5 is to future-proof your experience using an experience layer. And so this is another example from a customer that we worked with. They had an HR system hosted in their data center in their local network, and they were moving to an HR system in the cloud. And because they had built a lot of micro apps and functionality, HR functionality in their experience layer, which was decoupled from their HR system, for the employees, they would go to this experience layer, which happened to be on their intranet, to be able to edit their HR profile, look at their pay slip, view their time off, etc. When they moved to the HR system in the cloud, they basically just rewired the back end and the employee's experience remained the same, right? And so it allows you to future-proof your investment here, where you can change things behind the scenes and not have it necessarily impact the employee's experience. So trend number 6 is the critical role of HR and IT in your digital workplace strategy. So HR functionality reaches all employees, right? So when you're trying to find what are the best things to be able to bring into your experience layer that you want to highlight for your employees, HR is a great place to start, right? Things like the pay slip and the time off that we've talked about, they tend to impact all employees, but so does IT, right? And so with IT, it's things like the help desk or submitting an IT service request, right? These are things that almost all employees do. And so if you can leverage those use cases, those tend to be very broad-based and impact all employees before going sort of more segment focused, before you focus on, let's say, a marketing team or a sales team. It also gives you that opportunity to modernize those legacy systems. So maybe you have a legacy system that you want to keep in place, but you want to create that great experience. It enables you to be able to do both. And then finally on productivity, trend number 7 is to reimagine the intranet and the digital workplace as a productivity hub. And so if you sort of reframe how you think about things, almost like a dashboard here for the employee, what are the things you want to bring to the employee? It might be at the start of their day, you want to have sort of all the information that they're going to need to kick off their day all in one place. How could you turn this into a productivity hub? Another way to think about this, especially in this time of remote work, is you could think about it almost as creating the digital headquarters, right? So you have your physical headquarters somewhere, a physical building that people go to, that's your headquarters. What would your digital headquarters be like? And what's the type of information that you would bring there? Are there transactions? How do you create this as a centralized hub for your employees? It might be bringing tasks for IT employees. It could be integrating Jira or other things they're working on. For your sales employees, it could be leveraging Salesforce tasks and reminders and bringing that in for them. And so as you do that, right, when you're saving minutes a day because you've optimized some of the things that employees are doing and you're bringing it into your experience layer, minutes a day at enterprise scale often translates into millions of dollars in cost and productivity savings. And so thinking of your intranet or some type of portal as a digital headquarters, a productivity hub, an employee dashboard. These are some really powerful things that we're seeing people starting to create. And then finally, trend number 8 is modern technology will drive execution on digital workplace strategy. And so this is something, this is almost our number one focus right now, is that we believe that the future of the digital workplace will be enabled by no code development. So the ability to build apps and integrations, but not having to write a bunch of code or necessarily having to have a software engineer, right? So more citizen development. So how can you build things quickly, but then not have to worry about deploying things and having an IT team do all of these things for you, or maybe it's even more about accelerating your IT team to do things more quickly. So this is I'll just give you a sneak peek here of some of the things that we're working on. So in this example, this is ServiceNow, and let's say I want to bring approvals out of ServiceNow into an intranet. So here, without any code, right, I can say, hey, get this data from ServiceNow. So I want to pull in some data. I want to pull in different approvals out of the ServiceNow system. And then as I get that data, I want to be able to loop through it. And for every approval I get back, I want that sent to the intranet, into the experience layer. And then I'll run this app here real quick. And you can see it runs pretty quickly. Didn't have to write any code, didn't have to deploy anything anywhere. Normally this would run automatically based on a trigger, and you can see I've got all these ServiceNow approvals that I can sit here and approve very quickly. So very much, this is something that maybe would have taken us a month in advance previously to be able to build this and write code and deploy it, shifting towards no code development and doing things very quickly. We believe that significantly automating processes will not only save time but ultimately improve productivity. And so that's why we're putting a ton of focus on this, and this is something we're pretty excited that we're seeing, as a trend within the industry. We believe that this is going to be pretty huge in the digital workplace. And so those were the emerging trends and the formula for creating an effective digital workplace. I hope there were some of these trends you can take back to your organization and find ways to implement some of these things. I'm Troy Campano. Thank you for your time. If you'd like to learn more, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat about digital workplace strategy or chat about some of these trends. Or you can go to workgrid.com/Troy, and there'll be a number of resources there where you can check out some of our presentations and some of the things that we're thinking about for the future. Thank you.